let me give you a little tour of my art room, because in the last 18 months I've been doing a lot of painting. That is called Death Penalty in America. Ah! So that's called Death Penalty in America. That is called Noah's Ark. I'm not going to go through and name them all, though, you know. Although I will tell you, that is called Satan's Toilet. I was trying to capture, do you know when you go to the toilet in the middle of the night? That's what I was trying to capture there. But, you know, I don't know that I really quite did that. I was a bit frustrated with that one, as I was frustrated with that horse. You know, because sometimes when you're doing a painting and you're trying to capture something, sometimes it fails, and it fails in a way which is really very frustrating. But that said, I don't want to go on and on about how when I did some of these paintings it was frustrating and I failed to capture what I wanted, because it might just sound like humble bragging. Because honestly, I'm very happy with all of these paintings, even the ones that I was frustrated with. You know, I think they're pretty good. But so I do, you know, I'm pretty pleased with all of my efforts here, you know. And so if I go on and on about how frustrating it was and how in some instances I failed to capture everything I wanted to, it might just sound like humble bragging, you know, and I don't want to be accused of that, because it's annoying when people do humble bragging. You know, the thing is I'm telling you the truth when I say, you know, it's a genuine gripe that I had, that with some of these paintings, I really did struggle to capture what I wanted to. And also, if you look online, I mean, the standard of art online is absolutely bloody ridiculous. There are some people out there who are just unbelievably talented. Unbelievably talented. So that if I wanted to, I could go on and on about all the problems I've got and all the problems I had, you know, and how, you know, the standards out there are just unbelievably high and I can't keep up with them. But you know what? That would also sound like humble bragging. And does not, you know, humble bragging's annoying. Because ultimately, you know, I'm very pleased with all of these paintings. I'm very, very pleased. If you'd have told me 18 months ago that I would manage to do, you know, achieve this standard and, you know, express myself in this way, I would have, I would have bitten your hand off. But just to go back to it, I mean, this one here, in the photo of this sheep, the bright white light, the bright white sunlight was very chromatic. When I came to do the painting, the white sunlight was just so unbelievably dull and unchromatic, and it was really disappointing. And I've tried everything to fix it, but I'm still underwhelmed by that painting. I'm still disappointed by it, because you can't. It was so difficult to capture that chromatic white light in paint. It really was. But anyway, I'm blathering on. That is called The 6 Colours of the Rainbow, you know, reflecting the fact that there are 6 colours in the rainbow. That one is called Before and After, and it's called shoe reenactments of famous paintings, because it's meant to mimic a famous painting by Hogarth, or rather 2 famous paintings by Hogarth. So if you know what I'm talking about, you'll no doubt find my painting absolutely bloody hilarious. Now, let me show you some of these. I should say, you know, one thing which I do like painting. One thing which I do like painting is I love nighttime scenes out on the roads when it's wet and there's lots of car light and there's lots of street lights. You know, street lights, car lights, dark night, and lots of rain and lots of wet. You know, that is a theme that I do like to capture. I did a lot of portraits as well, But because, there might be, if I showed you the portraits, the problem is that some of the people, or just one of the people represented in those portraits, for example, if one of the people represented in the portraits later says, Thomas, I don't want that video up, can you take it down? Then I've got to take the entire bloody video down, just because one person was unhappy, and therefore, because I want the video to remain up, I'm not going to show you any of the portraits. So that's that. But anyway, thanks very much for listening. Have a great day. And ciao. Take care. Have a great day, kids.